Hi, CFA family. Welcome to Thursday's Thought of the Day. We're midway through April and still living in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic. I have a few verses I want to share with you today and a couple of thoughts just around these verses. In Philippians chapter 2, verses 1 to 4, it says, "If you have any encouragement from being united with Christ, if any comfort from his love, if any fellowship with the Spirit, if any tenderness and compassion, then make my joy complete by being like-minded, having the same love, being one in spirit and purpose. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but in humility consider others better than yourself. Each of you should look not only to your own interests, but also to the interests of others. Your attitude should be the same as that of Christ Jesus, who, being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be grasped, but made himself nothing, taking the very nature of a servant. Being made in human likeness and being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient to death, even death on a cross." There's a lot of us that are feeling a sense of loss and maybe even mourning. And it's not even necessarily something significant that you might have lost in this time, but there's a sense that our normal lives, our everyday routines, the things that we were accustomed to, the things that we're used to doing, it's all been kind of stripped away from us suddenly and unexpectedly, and we're learning to navigate in a kind of a different reality. And with that comes a grieving process. And so there's an aspect where we're grieving the lives that we used to have. And that could be significant, it could be minor, it could be anywhere in between, but we can't make light of the fact that we're all grieving in some way, in some shape, in some form. And this is a reality. This is something we're all facing right now. But what we're called to do is to look at the person of Jesus and look at what he modeled for us and look at what he put on display in his life, that he gave up equality with God. He was one with the Father. He willingly laid that down, and he came to earth as a servant to die for us and to be our substitute and to show himself as a great and supreme Lord. And he did that through humility and through self-sacrifice. We're called to do the same thing. And really in our own lives, as we're living through the coronavirus pandemic, as we're living through physical distancing, as we're living through trying to navigate what this looks like in regards to our works, in regards to career, we're feeling loss. We're feeling like things have been thrown off for us. But Jesus has already modeled this for us. He went before us and he gave up everything and lived in a whole new reality than anything he had experienced beforehand. And that's something that we don't always think about, that Jesus lived a reality that was different than what he was used to. And he willingly gave that up for us. And we're called to have that same attitude, to not live selfishly, to not grasp our lives, not to hold on to the things that we thought were so important, but instead to walk in faith that God is still in control and that he's working things out in our lives. In the midst of that, we don't know how long that's going to take. We have no idea how long this is going to be. But what we do know is that every day, day in and day out, we're called to obediently live for Christ and live for others, not just ourselves. And so one of the aspects of that is getting past some of the things we want to hold on to. Look, I had a trip to Florida booked. We were going to go in May. That's not going to happen now. And I'm still mourning that, but I can't dwell on what I'm losing or what I'm not having. I have to dwell on where I am now, be present in the moment, and see what God is calling us to do. And what we're called to do is to not just look after our own interests, but also to the interests of others. And so in this time, how can we serve our neighbors? How can we look after those who are around us? How can we be checking in to make sure those around us are doing okay? It's fine to dwell on our own things for a little bit, but we can't get stuck there. We need to be focused on helping others as well. And so let's look for opportunities this week, this month, as we're in the midst of this pandemic, as we're in the midst of all the physical distancing measures. How can we still look out for others? How can we still serve those who are around us? Pastor Kim is going to come with one tangible way that we can do that as a church here in Grand Prairie.
So during these difficult times, we have the opportunity to make a difference in the lives of others. As a church, we've established partnerships with many amazing organizations who are faithfully serving in our community. And today I want to highlight one, which is Salvation Army. And their food bank is a critical support for so many individuals and families. At this time, the best way that you can help them to help others is through a monetary donation, either through the mail or through their website, salvationarmygp.ca. Thank you for caring for your neighbors.